Well, hello, Daily Dosers. My name is Stephen Byer. I work on the creative video team here at North Coast Church, and I am so excited to bring you today's Daily Dose. Now, as it is a new year, we tend to focus a lot at this time of year on how can I make this year better than the last year? How can I improve on what I did? And how can I make this the best year yet? And that makes us focus on, what can I do in my physical life? Can I get healthier? Can I work on my emotional health? Can I work on my spiritual health? And I find oftentimes when we work on our spiritual health, we tend to make a lot of lists, like I need to read my Bible more, or I need to go to church more, or I need to treat people better every day, be nicer to people. And while these are all great things, I think when we do this, we oftentimes can get caught up in the self-righteousness of accomplishing the task and forget why it is that we're doing this to begin with. And I think a great place to start with this is probably the most famous list of all, the Ten Commandments. Now, what I find so fascinating about the Ten Commandments is that if you actually open up Exodus 20 and look at the Ten Commandments, the word commandment isn't even in there at all. So let's actually take a look and read Exodus 20, starting at verse 1. So it says, "And God spoke all these words, I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery." And then it goes on to list what we know as the Ten Commandments, that you shall have no other gods before me, you shall not commit the Lord's name in vain, and so on and so forth. But again, the word commandment wasn't there. The word for commandment is mitzvah, and there are 613 mitzvot in the Old Testament, these commandments that were given by God. And there is some of them in this list, but what is talked about here is the Asarei ha-debrat. And that is the 10 words or the 10 statements that are given by God. And what I find so fascinating is the first one is not a command at all. I am the Lord your God who brought you out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery. Now, why this is so important is it's establishing relationship. See, this isn't a random list given by a random being. This is Yahweh. This is Israel's God who's saying, I have been there with you. You were there in slavery. I freed you and have taken you to this place. These are the things that are going to help you live abundantly. That is so cool. And it just gives such a different perspective on what it means when God is giving us these commandments. See, it's not arbitrary. It's not just this things to be nice. It's, I love you. That is the message that God is saying to us. And these are the things that you can do to live the most abundant and great life possible. Now, while we didn't come from the land of slavery in Egypt and have that physical bondage, we do have this bondage that has overtaken us called sin. And so we can completely relate to this first part of where God says, I am the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of slavery. And how he did that was through his son, Jesus Christ. You see, without him and without that relationship, we would still be stuck. We would be in bondage. But he has freed us through his death and resurrection. And he says, now that you're free and I am your God, this is the way you ought to live in order to follow me. And so that's what's so cool about this. Now, as we try and do the best we can to follow God, we can get caught up in the lists of do's and don'ts, but he makes it very simple. The way you can break it down is love the Lord your God with all your heart and love your neighbor as yourself. Now, a great way to get better at this is practice, but it's also just spending time with God. You see, I find that the more time I spend with someone, the more I end up like them. And I pick up all of their habits, whether they're good or bad. Now, the great thing about Jesus, the great thing about our God is he has no bad habits. So when you're spending time in the Word and getting to know your God, all you're doing is picking up his traits. So may I encourage you as we kick off this year and as we work on the things in our life to spend time in the Word daily. Keep up with these doses, keep up with sermons, but more importantly, keep up with your personal time with God, so that you spend time with him, getting to know him, becoming more and more like him. May that encourage you today. We'll see you soon.